It's been kind of a strange MWC this year, what with, first of all, snow in Barcelona. That's a sign because things have been kind of quiet this year. There have been little blips of news, but then there have been inconsequential types of things. So to make sense of it all, in case you haven't been staying on top of it yourself, here's a summary of all the biggest announcements out of MWC 2018. First of all, the S9 Plus is the first Galaxy S flagship to sport a dual camera, the Note 8 being the first Galaxy flagship on the whole to get that. In addition to that, there have been a whole ton of camera updates. There's now a new feature called dual aperture, which allows the camera to switch between two different f-stops and let in more light in dark conditions to shoot better photos. At its widest, that aperture goes to f1.5, which is the largest ever aperture on a smartphone, yet beating the LG V30, which held the record previously at f1.6 with a glass lens. There's a whole bunch more other improvements to the camera and Bixby, the AI assistant, as well. There's also cosmetic tweaks. We don't know how much of this will impact your experience on the whole yet, but to get all of the nitty-gritty details for now, go check out our hands-on Engadget.com and stay tuned for the full review, which will give you a better sense of how this will change the S series. Sony unveiled the Xperia XE2 and XE2 compact flagships. These are the first smartphones to be packing the Snapdragon 845 chip and using it to record 4K HDR. Now, to be clear, the Samsung Galaxy S9 also runs the Snapdragon 845 chipset in the US, but there's no word yet from the Korean company about whether 4K HDR recording is supported. So it's a little iffy on that. Sony has come right out and said it too. So if you're someone who's really into shooting high-res, high-quality video on your smartphone, maybe consider the XE2. Again, another bunch of updates with the XZ series. Check out our full hands-on for all the details. Google made a couple of announcements here at this show as well, and the more interesting of the two is that Android Go is finally here. We are seeing phones from makers like Alcatel, ZTE, and Nokia. These are smartphones that cost $100 or less and run Android Oreo, which is the latest generation of that software. And that's cool because people who are buying these phones at those price points today are generally getting something that's a year or so older in terms of software. We checked out some of these phones and our senior mobile editor Chris Velasco was rather taken with the Nokia version. He says it was a very smooth experience, even though it was a more fun design that you would expect at sort of that price point. The Alcatel phone didn't impress us as much as it was a work in progress, but let's see more to come from the rest of the smartphone makers in the world. Speaking of, Nokia once again used MWC as a launchpad for a revived old phone. This year they brought the Nokia 8110, which is a version of that Matrix phone everyone remembers. Yeah, not so much. This year it didn't generate the publicity that the 3310 did last year, even though Nokia also launched a whole bunch of new Android handsets alongside the 8110. We didn't feel very excited about this set of phones at all because I think people understand this is hype machine trying to do hype again. Nokia also had a really weird smart jacket that it showed off at this booth here. It is meant for first responders and keeps tabs on their location and heart rate and other metrics to make sure that they're okay when they're out there doing their life-saving jobs. Asus also launched 3 new Zen phones here at the show, the Zenfone 5, Zenfone 5 Lite, and Zenfone 5Z, with the 5 and the Z being the slightly higher end models. And they both look very familiar. You may notice a sort of resemblance to the iPhone 10, and that's not the only way they are similar. They can also do something called Zenmoji, which you can probably guess what that does. The 5Z also comes equipped with the Snapdragon 845, and it may be one of the cheapest phones at this early stage to come with that chipset. We weren't expecting this year, but LG actually introduced a new version of the V30 handset from last year here at the show. It is the V30s ThinQ, and really basically isn't that much different from the previous generation, except now it has 6 gigs of RAM instead of 4, and a few new AI camera features. LG has already said that the update can be backward ported to the existing V30, so we really don't know why they did this either. Finally, one of the biggest things that got people real hype at MWC this year was 5G. You can turn a corner without noticing a sign for a new 5G product. One of the biggest announcements or commitments to 5G came out of Intel this year with the promise to make 5G a big thing at the Olympics in 2020. Intel says it's going to enable 8K 360-degree video streams, which would be a huge step up from the lackluster 4K video streams we saw at the Winter Olympics this year. Expect to see also a lot more 5G-enabled sensors, some drones with cameras, hopefully also streaming 4K content. So stay tuned. In about 2 years, the world may look very different. If you're feeling underwhelmed by all of the news that I just recapped for you, you're not alone. We feel the same. It's been a strange MWC with not a lot of big news, but hey, maybe this just means that the rest of 2018 is gonna be super exciting. Let's keep our hopes up, and maybe again, there'll be something to look forward to. So stay tuned for all of that fun stuff at Engadget.com.